Just leaving the left thing, have you seen what's going on with the Young Turks lately?
So here's the thing. I don't follow closely.
Yeah.
As someone who is admittedly a part of the left wing discourse ecosystem, I'm
Yeah.
a small part of it, and I'm not someone who follows the discourse too much. I did see Cenk went to America Fest, which
Yep.
I also appeared at. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But and then I know him and Anna have been just like fucking hating each other for the past several years. And they seem like one of those couples that you're just like, so like you still haven't broken up yet. I thought you would have done that 2 years ago. And when Cenk talks, he says some dumb shit, but like I do kind of get what he's saying sometimes. I don't know. Like again, I don't have a full grasp of him as a person or what he's saying, but he seemed to be saying like, I think we need to get in front of these people. And like the thing that I disagreed with was you don't do that on their fucking like masturbatory fucking America Fest platform. Like there's better places to accomplish that without like giving the gravitas to that specific platform. Go on Rogan, 100%. Yeah, go on all the podcasts. Go where they are. That was not a good place to show face, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whose face was also shown there.
Yeah, and for those who wonder what we're talking about, the Young Turks, the primary hosts are Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian. And this started, like, they've seemed to do this right-wing creep for a while.
It's been so slow.
It's been real
it's
slow.
like watching the Titanic sink.
Yeah, and this is not new to I like the Young Turks. I hate saying this, but this isn't new for the Young Turks because Dave Rubin used to be in the Young Turks and Jimmy Dore used to be in the Young Turks too. And when they left and started their own platforms, they became right wingers because there's more money in it. But it started. I remember seeing this first when I first noticed it. It was with Anna Kasparian, and she made a really big deal about how she hated the term birthing person. Like she said that this is awful. We need to stop this. I'm a woman. I'm not a birthing person, which is like a weird right-wing thing where they focus on like obscure minutia medical technology. Like, no one calls women or girls birthing people, in regular discourse. It doesn't happen. But right-wingers make a big deal out of pretend that it does. And then Cenk, these last few weeks, he's been saying that, like what John said, that we need to go on right wingers platforms. We need to stop being so mean to them. And I agree with John. I'm not against going on a right wingers platform if that's your thing. I think it's kind of a waste of time. But fine, but you need to be combative every step of the way. And what Cenk is saying is, no, we need to be nicer. We need to reach out and be kinder to these folks. Like I saw him just kissing the ass of the people at the America Fest thing. And I hate doing this, but just he was there. And of course, the crowd cheered when he came on because Charlie Kirk gave him this, glorious introduction. And he said that, hey, lefties out there, you hear this? These right wingers are all cheering against corruption. They were booing Mitch McConnell. Can you believe that? We've been trying to get them to boo Mitch McConnell for years. And he says, let me ask you guys, what do you think about Dick Cheney? And they all booed. You see this left wingers, this right wing populism thing, it's real. No, the fuck it's not. No, it's not. They weren't cheering or booing Mitch McConnell or Dick Cheney because of any principle or because of any like moral stance they have against them. I guarantee you look at Mitch McConnell's voting record, it's like 95% in agreement with Trump, right? Just like every other Republican. They just did it because Trump doesn't like them. Like there's no foundation to this. And if you're just going to go out there and pretend that there's a ton of overlap between not necessarily the antagonism from the right and the left, because there is a lot of overlap there, but there's very little on the solutions, which is what actually matters. And it's kind of sad to see them doing this.
It's interesting, TJ, because every time I hear like, oh, the Young Turks is leaving the left, I do often see their point. Like with Anna Kasparian's birthing people thing, I pretty much agreed with her. Like what she was actually saying, I agreed with. I was like, not really my fight. I don't really care either way. But if I was a woman, I would feel like birthing person sounds insulting. Like it just would to me. But the focus on it, the position that it exists within overall political discourse it's right wing coded to complain about that, even though they are right to complain about that, in my opinion. But it doesn't actually fucking matter, which is why what the actual message should be, which is what the Young Turks often misses. And so it's really hard because it's hard to thread the needle. It really is, because we do have to be using messaging which communicates our ideas in a right-wing coded way. I think that is a good thing to do. I think that, for example, Andrew Yang famously tested, instead of saying UBI, I'm going to call it a freedom dividend, and like Republicans ate that shit up. And you know what? That's the good type of right-wing coding your messaging in order to manipulate them into achieving the goals that you want to do. But it's hard to do that because you're walking a tightrope, because what you don't want to do is give credence to the bad solutions that they are offering to the problems that you think you are trying to work with them to solve. And it's hard to do, TJ, and it's really easy to mess up. Bernie fucking ate shit there's a tweet, I think last week, and I think he's fundamentally wrong, but he's like, Elon is wrong about the H-1B1 visas thing. These are basically indentured servitude. And it's like, no, Bernie, you're wrong about that. Like, you shouldn't be taking an anti-immigration stance in order to appeal to the right-wing populace. I disagree with that. And I know Bernie's genuine about it because he has some protectionist red flags that have always made me cautious of him, even though he's, better than basically any other option. But like, it's hard. I don't, if they aren't leaving the left, I could see it. If they are, I could also see it. It's hard to really tell for sure at this point, I think, TJ.
I'm stuck with this birthing person thing here. I was surprised to hear you say that, because
really, are you like, we should call them birthing people? No, or are you just like, it shouldn't matter and we should?
Well, no, it's like, I'm not sure what the argument is from Ana Kasparian, where she's like, hey, I don't like being called a birthing person. Okay, no one is, right? Like, so like, if you're writing like medical literature or something, this applies to birthing people. That's important. Because if you say this applies to women, well, does it apply to girls? They can have kids too, because girls are birthing persons. And like, it's not just a trans thing, right? So like if it'd be one thing, it'd be one thing. It'd be one thing if it was common in social discourse to refer to women, but it's not. Like, nobody says that outside of very particularly specified laws and like medical regulations. Like, okay, I mean, that's just what it is. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, no. So I remember at the time that being tossed around as a legitimate thing. I could be wrong about that. I don't remember. But like, to your point, in order to land that message, it should go along the lines of, right wingers, I agree with you. It's ridiculous to call someone a birthing person. I would be insulted if people were calling me a birthing person. So why do you think that's actually happening? I'm a left-wing person. I'm telling you that it's, I find it insulting. Why do you think it's actually happening? Because it's not happening in the settings that your people are telling you they are. It's happening in medical settings, which makes a lot of fucking sense. Because you have intersex people who can give birth just medically. And so, you want to follow the biology. That's what they're talking about. That's the messaging that is effective. But the way Ana Kasparian did it, it seemed more like she was leaning into the right wing.
Right.
And that's the difficult part. Like, that's why it's so hard to really parse it out. Because as I said, I ostensibly agree with the point she's making, but the way she made it gave more gravitas to the right wing's crusade than it ever desered.
Yeah, that's it. That's because like she does the same thing with crime. Because she'll say like, well, left wingers. Cenk does this too. Where they talk about how left wingers actually love crime. They want homeless people to stab you when you're riding the subway or something like that. And it's like, all of this is just right wing language here, all of it, because they've been around long enough to know when the statements you make can be weaponized. Because there's sometimes that the hold on. Oh wow, that's funny. That's funny. You got this one, John?
I got this one. Charles Koch, friend of the show, he gave us $5 to tell our audience about the economic opportunity that would emerge from lifting the Clean Air Act. So much. There's about $5 of economic opportunity for lifting the Clean Air Act, guys. We should totally go do it. We can be bought so easily, TJ. You see,
apparently
I left the left. I sold $5.
Pretty easy. Although, like, all joking aside, if the Clean Air Act didn't exist, or if you could still put lead in your gasoline and someone came out with a law for it today, Republicans would fight tooth and nail against it. Like, Republicans, like, they're trying to stifle the free market. Charles Koch here would be saying, this is an intrusion on the freedom of American commerce. Like, they would actually be doing this shit. But anyway, with Anna Kasparian and everything, the creeping to the right and Cenk, openly embracing right where it's just suspicious. And you do it enough times, and I think that it's warranted. And I should have caught this years ago. There was a guy, former friend of mine, who was a content creator before I started making content, and I remember him having Anna Kasparian on his show, and she was talking about some rough times she was going through. It was kind of a downer and stuff. And he asked her about, this is probably 2019 or something. And he asked her what she thought about her crusade, that she'd been on for years with left-wing causes. And she said, well, I spent so much time in my life trying to make the world a better place. And now I'm to the point where I'm okay if I don't. And I remember her saying that. Because she seemed really down. And I'm not saying that was the point she decided to kind of go right or whatever, but it makes sense to me. Looking back, I wish because his channel is gone now. I was trying to find the clip to show it, but it's gone. But I remember that happening specifically with her saying that she's okay if she doesn't make the world a better place. Like, I believe it because, you hate to see it, folks. I was a really big fan of the Young Turks back in the day. Oh, we missed some comments here.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I will say about this, it cooks your brain.
Yeah, it does.
If you're doing it on the level that Anna Kasparian is, especially, and like I can't even imagine being her specifically, because she went through the fucking ringer in a way that I don't think I will ever experience, no matter how big I get. And so, like, yeah, it's got to give you this nihilistic fucking warped worldview that, I did all of this. It still doesn't matter. I feel that way about my content.
Right.
I'm like, I did all of this. It doesn't matter. Who gives a shit if I have millions of views? Who gives a shit if I have people in my DMs saying, oh, you helped me so much? It doesn't fucking matter. Trump's the goddamn president. Go fuck yourself. Like, and that's how I feel. And it's this constant tug of rope of like, oh, what you're doing does help in, small margins versus what you're doing is bullshit. And this is pointless masturbation in public. And I don't know which one's right, TJ. I don't know which one's right. It's a constant battle. It cooks your fucking brain. And having to just constantly consume all of this bullshit and terribleness about the world, it's hard. It's genuinely a lot harder than I would have ever imagined it being when I started. And I've experienced a 10,000th of the bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Has.
Well, you do know which one is right. You just don't know which one is like better for your sanity and personal well-being and everything. Because especially if you were someone like Anna Kasparian, first off, like us, we don't complain too much about, like being content creators. It's fine. A lot of people wish they could do it. And so I understand that. But I give props to honestly anyone who makes content. Political content specifically, because people will go after anything they can to insult you. They have from cowardice with their anonymous accounts and shit like that. But I have extra respect for any women who do this, because holy shit, I mean, it's got to be 1,000 times worse. And so when you're on a platform as large as Anna Kasparian and you're trying to do this and it gets you fucking nowhere, and then you see talentless fucking hacks like Dave Rubin and Tim Pool getting $100,000 per video for pushing right-wing content, waking up every morning and going into work. It's like, man, I could be making 10 times as much money as I'm doing right now just by throwing out a few. With a platform as large as the Young Turks, I see why the temptation's there. I'm not defending it. I still think it's bad and a net negative for society. But it's happened to plenty of people. So I hate to see it, but it's true.